We're following breaking news out of Riverside tonight. The Ohio State Highway Patrol now saying the person hit by a vehicle there is in life-threatening condition. Now, initially, OSHP told us the person had died, so that's what we reported earlier this evening. We're told now that there were conflicting reports. This unfortunately can happen sometimes. The incident happened 200 block of Woodman Drive just before 7 tonight. Riverside police initially responded, then troopers tell us they were requested to handle the crash investigation. Now, the southbound lanes of Woodman Drive were shut down for a while police investigated. So if you were driving around that area, you probably noticed it. That's what was happening. We're still working to learn more about what happened here. We will keep you updated on air and online.
We're also learning more tonight about that train derailment in Greenville. Lydia Bice has been covering this story from the very get-go. So, Lydia, who did we finally hear from today?
Surrounding roads remain closed and crews are still hard at work here replacing the train tracks after Tuesday's train derailment here in Darke County. Now, our major update today is that we finally heard from that company who owned the train that derailed here, the R.J. Corman Railroad Group. However, Greenville Fire Chief Russell Thompson told me over the phone today that he had hoped a representative from that company would come to Greenville and address residents' concerns and maybe even hold a press conference for the local media. However, that is not the case, but I did receive a statement from the company earlier this afternoon. Less than 24 hours after a train derailment in Greenville, the train was nowhere to be found. Crews worked fast to remove the train and tankers containing ethanol from the derailment site and spent the rest of the day Wednesday taking away damaged pieces of the railroad and replacing the track. Gary Flatter, a Greenville resident, was just feet away when the derailment happened.
I heard this growling. I mean, it was noisy, and I thought, now, that ain't right. And I didn't do no more than think of that, and all of a sudden, boom, the cars just started toppling over everywhere, and one jackknifed right in behind me. So I was scared to death.
Today I spoke to Greenville Fire Chief Russell Thompson, who said he had hoped that the company who owns the train, the R.J. Corman Railroad Group, would have sent a representative to Greenville to speak to residents and the media. Instead, I received this statement. It says in part, 9 cars were involved, including 6 empty hopper cars, followed by 3 loaded ethanol tanks. There were no injuries or environmental issues related to the derailment. With the support of local emergency response from the Greenville Fire Department and Greenville Police Department, we were able to secure the area of the incident and determine there was no threat to the community. After the initial assessment, multiple crews and an environmental team were dispatched to work the site and continue to monitor the situation. Gary Flatter says he appreciates all of these crews and their hard work.
So, they did a pretty good job, I'll have to say. I'm proud of them.
Today, I also caught up with Ohio Senator Sherrod Brown and asked him if Ohio residents should be concerned about what seems to be an increase in train derailments across our state and the country. He said that he's going to continue fighting for the Rail Safety Act, a bipartisan bill that addresses safety requirements for rail companies.
Trains got less safe. We've seen 7 or 8 derailments, and just 2 or 3, I believe, in the Miami Valley area, Springfield, now the new one on the end, closer to the Indiana border. I'll continue to fight for this bill. I want to get this bill on the Senate floor like right now.
Now, of course, we're going to continue reaching out to the R.J. Corman Railroad Group to see if they are going to send a representative here to Greenville to address residents' concerns and maybe even hold a press conference for the media. And if they do, we'll of course be in attendance, and we will also live stream it from our Dayton 24/7 Now Facebook page. Back to you.
Well, some big news from the State House tonight. The Ohio Senate voting to override Governor Mike DeWine's veto of the bill restricting transgender rights. House Bill 68 will now become law in 90 days. It bans gender-affirming care for minors and restricts transgender athletes from participating in girls' and women's sports. Now, the governor says he vetoed the bill last month to protect parents and kids from government overreach on medical decisions. So coming up in about 10 minutes, we'll hear from the bill's sponsor and a trans rights advocate. We also now know tonight the identity of the man accused of firing a shot on Wright State's campus on Monday. 21-year-old Daryl Patterson of Columbus was arrested that day and was charged today with 1 count of felonious assault. Now, he appeared virtually in Fairborn Municipal Court. On Monday, You may remember campus police were called to Cedar Hall on reports of a gunshot. WSU police tell us the victim knew Patterson and that the whole thing started over missing property. Nobody was hurt out of this, thankfully. Patterson is also not a student there and is not allowed back on campus. This is a live look at the Greene County Jail website now. You can see Patterson is in custody. He'll be back in court the morning of February 1st.
The man charged with murdering his 3 young sons last June in Clermont County wants his confession tossed out. New court documents filed by Chad Duerman's attorney say his constitutional rights were violated after his arrest. An 18-page motion to suppress what he told law enforcement was just filed. Now, body camera video shows Duerman's arrest on the front steps of his Monroe Township home back in June. Police say he shot and killed his sons aged 3, 4, and 7. Duerman's attorneys say that during his 3-hour interrogation, he invoked his right to counsel at least twice, but detectives ignored him. His attorneys also claim deputies were there for Duerman's conversations with healthcare workers, saying those privileged communications were recorded. During the police interviews, Duerman did confess to the murders and said he's been planning it for months. A judge will now consider the motion to have his confession tossed out on February 2nd.
Well, if you stepped outside today, you no doubt noticed just how hard it was to see things. This fog is ridiculous. That's downtown Dayton somewhere.
Right, behind the fog, maybe a few lights you could still see out there, but pretty dense fog across the area tonight, and that will continue through early tomorrow morning. So certainly want to be extra cautious as you are out on the roads. Leave enough space between you and the vehicle in front of you as you're driving. Temperature-wise, it's not too bad, though. We're hanging out at 54 degrees. We actually warmed up a degrees, 11 degrees warmer compared to this time yesterday. We got that dense fog advisory in effect through 1 p.m. tomorrow. Unlike yesterday where we had the rain in the morning, we're actually going to see the rain hold off until the afternoon other than a little mist. So the fog is going to linger a little bit longer. Visibility, about a half mile in Troy, same thing in Greenville, mile in Dayton with 50s and 40s across the area. We'll continue with those 40s overnight, and then fog is expected for us. So again, allow some extra time as you're out on the roads tomorrow morning. We'll have a look at that rain on the way coming up here in just a bit.
Wayne Avenue in Dayton will soon see the road redesigned. The Wayne Avenue Traffic Safety Coalition wants to prioritize safe travel for all. In the past, the road had temporary improvements, but the coalition's president says they're working with city engineers to create a plan for long-term improvements.
We would love to see things like wider sidewalks, maybe an active bike lane alongside the road where we can maybe even take away a lane of traffic, maybe going out of downtown.
Morris also mentions the coalition values community opinions and urges the city to chime in and share their thoughts to help improve Wayne Avenue.
Ohio Senator Sherrod Brown is opposing tonight the White House's nominee for Deputy U.S. Trade Representative. He says Nelson Cunningham does not have a history of standing with Ohio workers and is now calling for the Biden administration to pick someone else.
He pushed for the Trans-Pacific Partnership, which was actually worse even than NAFTA. He represented the Fuyao company, Chinese-owned company in Dayton. It was one of the strongest, the most active union-busting companies on American soil. And it had all kinds of safety violations too. So I don't care who the president is. I'm not going to vote to confirm somebody who's just wrong for Ohio workers.
Brown says he will keep fighting against corporate trade deals and push for workers to be at the center of all deals.
Today, the Dayton Food Bank receiving nearly $23,000 for food relief in the community. The money comes from Ohio's $1 million legal settlement with Dollar General when the state sued the retailer for inaccurate pricing. The money is being distributed to food pantries all across the state. County Auditor Carl Keith says every county in Ohio has a Dollar General store, so every county has at least $1,000 or received at least $1,000. The rest of the money was distributed based on how many stores are in each county.
I have to give Attorney General Dave Yost credit. Dave Yost said, okay, now I've got $1 million, what am I going to do with it? And he decided that the best thing to do is wanted to give it to a place that was to serve those that were in need, to serve those that would most benefit from it.
Today alone in our drive-through, we saw 462 families. And so for us, this 22,000, almost 23,000, it relates to about 91,000 meals being served in this community. So the money's staying locally.
The food bank says every single dollar matters, and this money will help them significantly, especially after the holidays.
A local high school cheer team asking for your help tonight. The Urbana Hill Climbers have climbed their way to the top, earning themselves a bid to nationals in Florida. But as Gwyneth Falloon tells us, this dream comes with a price.
The Urbana High School cheer team has landed themselves in the history book. For the very first time, they have the opportunity to compete at the very top. But first, they need your help. In November, the climbers earned themselves a bid to UCA Nationals in Orlando, Florida, a costly opportunity.
You don't have a lot of time to prepare financial wise. The total trip is close to $25,000 for all of us to go.
That money will pay for travel, room and board, and registration. But for some, it's a chance of a lifetime.
I was in shock because we worked so hard. To be the first team to do this from Urbana is very important to us.
If you would like to help, a GoFundMe page has been set up. You can find that information on our website, Dayton247now.com. They still need to raise another $10,000 by the end of the month. Back to you.
So here is a look at that GoFundMe page that Gwen mentioned there. If you'd like to donate, you can go there. We got it linked in the web version, as she mentioned, at Dayton247now.com. The team, by the way, competing February 9th.
The Ohio Senate has upheld the House's override of Governor DeWine's veto. That's in relation to House Bill 68. Hear reactions from the bill's sponsor and trans rights advocates after the break.
Plus, I'm tracking more fog as well as more rain on the way, too. That's coming up. Here's a live look from our Eco Plumber Skycam. You're watching Dayton 24/7 now.
Ohio state lawmakers banned transgender medical care for minors. Both the House and the Senate overriding the governor's veto on that bill. Carly Van Cleve has reaction tonight from lawmakers and parents.
A controversial bill now to become law in Ohio. After quite some time and debate among state senators, they ultimately decided to side with the House and override the governor's veto, making a ban on gender-affirming care for minors across the state. I talked with author of the bill, State Representative Gary Click.
There should be some standards. All medicine has some standards of care, and we want to make sure that those are good, safe, and that we have fewer people come into the place where they actually regret their decisions.
Over 500 pieces of testimony to show how this care is safe and important to kids. And to have them just rip it apart because they don't understand it, because they can't envision a world with transgender people who need care, it's extremely discouraging.
I also talked with a mother who says she's worried that young people won't be able to get the health care that they need now that this has become law. The bill goes into effect in 90 days. For now, I'm Carly Van Cleve reporting from the State House.
Well, a few showers around this evening, a couple areas of light rain, some drizzle, that mist. And then, of course, fog is with us, too. A lot of the heavier rain making its way out of the region, and we're just left with foggy conditions overnight. But more rain is on the way. Gloomy weather, unfortunately, continues on. We're going to see showers continue to develop by later into the day tomorrow. So waking up to fog in 40s early tomorrow. A couple of showers by the afternoon. Fog will likely linger into the late morning. And then there you see more rain. Does look like it will hold off until the late evening, and overnight we'll see showers, a couple heavier pockets of rain here and there before that clears out. Friday will be quiet, but staying pretty cloudy. Got another round of rain on the way Saturday. I'll have more coming up.
Schools coming under fire at the Ohio State House today, as do their roles contributing to Ohio's housing crisis. Now, the Senate Select Committee on Housing met this afternoon to give lawmakers recommendations to help Ohioans find and keep their homes. Now, the committee is calling school funding too much of a burden on Ohio homeowners. They say some school districts are pushing back against building if new homes don't produce enough property tax for their districts. So here's two examples from our own local elections in 2023. Centerville and Washington Township voters rejected the 5.9 mil levy. That would have cost about $206.50 per $100,000 of appraised home value and bring in $12.9 million for the district a year. Oakwood's 6.75 mil levy passed. That cost homeowners an additional $236 per $100,000 home valuation. It generates more than $2 million for the district.
Some communities are very public about this, that unless the housing produces enough tax money to cover the cost of kids in their school district, they won't allow the housing to be built. And so you're getting houses that have to cost at least $500,000 or more, or they can't get built, and they don't allow multifamily.
Senators in the committee today said they're looking at ways to reduce that burden for homeowners while still providing Ohio schools with the money they need.
Some Ohio lawmakers are now pushing to get rid of end-of-the-month ticket quotas for police. Some agencies have official or even unofficial quotas. That's the minimum number of tickets or arrests that have to be done that month. And for some of those agencies, that actually factors into an officer's performance standards. And ultimately, some say judge an officer's competence. House Bill 333 has the backing from the Fraternal Order of Police.
All right, here's another live look from our Eco Plumber Skycam. I think that's downtown Dayton, although you wouldn't know because you can't see it, thanks to the fog.
Yeah, very dense fog out there. That will continue overnight and into early tomorrow morning. So take your time for that morning commute. About a quarter-mile visibility expected for the entire area, potentially continuing into the late mornings. Not until the afternoon we'll start to see more in just the way of rain make its way back through. Even early Friday morning, potentially could see some more fog developing for us about a quarter-mile Friday morning, but by our Friday afternoon, we do start to see that fog clear out. And we got more rain on the way as well, so heading into Friday.